My name is Paul, and I'm going to read you a fairly short article. It's about a day vision, a lucid dream, lucid vision that I had. Pretty short as far as the vision itself. And then upon afterwards, thinking about what I had seen, some of the conclusions that I came to. This is titled Poetic Ascent, October 1st, 2015. That was yesterday. And it's the 10-1 train. That's a theme that I follow in a lot of articles about a train. So here it is. I saw a group of 5 silhouettes. I can only describe them like a gray alien. That's what they looked like. They were a distance from me in a semi-dry meadow with, excuse me, a semi-dry meadow with dry bushes and thinly populated tall weeds. There was a low wall between us, made of off-white brick and plaster. The beings were milling around. Near them was a gray structure, either a tent or a machine, perhaps a ship for travel or cargo. I knew what they were doing. They were analyzing or selecting a passive human beast from a group in the land of Nod. These humans were not bad people, they were just beasts without a soul. Presently, they were being cultivated by the devil. It was his world. That human, these 5 beings from somewhere else selected, turned out to be Adam. The group of 5 were not aliens. It's just the best way I can describe their appearance from the distance they were from me. These alien workers, they were allied with the angels from heaven. These statements I make simply because I knew it. It's like intuition. These thoughts that I'm putting out were things I understood. I just understood them as I was seeing it happen. I knew the garden was behind me, and I knew what they were doing as I saw it in vision. Afterwards, though, I thought about it quite a bit. That vision ended, and the rest of this article is my thoughts on meditation about the activity of these beings. Their selection, the human beast, was taken to the Garden of Eden, which was behind me in the vision, and the spirit of life was breathed into him. Again, I don't know the method, I just describe it as such so that you'll know what I mean. Adam was raised in knowledge above all other animals at this time, and on the earth he had knowledge of the human race just like we do today. Knowledge like we have today. At that time, Adam became a living soul. Excuse me. He now had the ability to commune with God through telepathy. I call it prayer. And now Eve, and it's interesting, Eve didn't have a name until after they had disobeyed. But Eve was not selected from that group across the low plastered wall in the field where I saw the alien-like beings pick out Adam. Eve was created with something like cloning or some DNA duplication process. I don't know any details, but she was taken from Adam's flesh body, created that way. And now this description that I'm writing is based on the answers that came to me in the meditation, not in the vision, as was the first paragraph, which actually described the vision. The following statement in this paragraph I'm currently reading are presumptions of mine. They're not spiritually delivered. They're just my own considerations, okay? Perhaps God gave Adam a mission. He was to return to the field before he sinned. He was to return to the field, the land of Nod, where the group of 5 beings had found him originally. Adam and Eve were to cultivate those people in the land of Nod and share with them the knowledge of God and what he learned when he became a living soul. This was their mission. This is how they were to initially replenish or populate the earth. Surely in time they would procreate, but that liberty had not yet been given to them. In Genesis, the book of Genesis in the King James Version, chapter 1, verse 28, God blessed them, and God said to them, "Be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth." In later versions, they use the word "fill the earth." There's some contention whether they were replenishing something that existed before or if they were just filling something that was presently empty. And it's based upon the translation of the word in Hebrew and how you portray that. Okay, the rest of the events given in the story are symbolic in a sense, a very complicated historical paradigm consolidated into a few chapters of the book of Genesis. The serpent told Eve that she could be like God, and the consequences of that action actually caused the eventual conception of Cain and Abel, but not before the two were kicked out of the Garden of Eden, preventing them from gaining eternal life as a corrupted soul. There are some people that believe that Satan actually had sex with Eve, but they are wrong. He hadn't had sex with Eve. This next verse right here, there's just two more verses I'm going with, and it's done. But it's actually prophetic. It's the first prophecy in the Bible, Genesis chapter 3, verse 15. This is the consequences of what Satan would receive after deceiving Eve and causing her to disobey God while they were within the Garden of Eden. God says to the devil, God says, "I will put enmity between thee and the woman, and between thy seed and her seed. It shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise his heel." And it's not literal because women don't carry the seed. The man carries the seed. That's kind of odd that he would say, put enmity between the devil's seed and her seed. He's basically referring to the generations to follow, not the fact that Cain was Satan's son, because that's totally bogus. At any rate, it's a prophecy of Jesus Christ defeating the devil in his cultivation of mankind the way he had been doing up until the time God planted Adam on the earth. At that point in time is when actually the devil had already lost with this prophecy right here, unless God failed to deliver, which he did not. Here's the last verse I'm going to read. The last piece is Genesis chapter 3, verses 22 through 24 of the King James Version. And the Lord God said, "Behold, the man is become as one of us, to know good and evil. And now, lest he put forth his hand, and take also of the tree of life, and eat, and live forever. Therefore the Lord God sent him forth from the Garden of Eden, to till the ground from whence he was taken. So he drove out the man, and he placed at the east of the Garden of Eden cherubims, and a flaming sword which turned every way, to keep the way of the tree of life." Those are relevant verses to what I saw, because what I saw, the era of what I was looking at, was pre-Adam. There's lots of people that talk about the pre-Adamic men and who they were and so forth and so on. In fact, if you follow a biblical record, you can follow the genealogy out back to Adam of around 6,000 something years. And there's evidence that the earth has been here a lot longer than that. And this kind of like fits right into that puzzle, because if mankind evolved, what's wrong with that? We could have evolved over a period of many years. And once the evolution of man had got to a point where it's what God wanted, and the devil had demonstrated his viciousness enough, God came down and brought with him a tree of life and a tree of the knowledge of good and evil. All the other trees were pretty much already there. When he put together the garden, he put in some other stuff. He brought Adam, put him there, gave Adam a wife. They both have souls, whereas the ones that were out there did not. They weren't human yet. They were close, but no cigar. And so God breathed to him the spirit of life. That's just completely spiritual. It's got nothing to do with Frankenstein body laying there. When you connect electrical rods to it, he comes to life. That's not the way it went down. At least not in the way I've seen things. I've had lots of different visions. I'm just trying to communicate this one to you. It's so odd. And as far as I'm looking like gray aliens, they were pretty far away, and I couldn't see them clearly. They were whitish, not ghost-like, but somewhat white, very thin, no wings, no clothes that I could see on them. So I don't know if it's a transcendental, if it's a like just an image of them from another realm affecting the earth or what. I have no real idea. I just described what I saw and what they did, and then tried to figure out why they did it. There you have it. Poetic Ascent, October 1st, 2015. See ya.